This man has been dead 3 times, struck by lightning the first time in 1975. Can you imagine? He's been dead more times than anybody you know, and I definitely know. But last week, the most startling thing on the internet was how he was breaking and entering and vandalizing a clinic. Dannion Brinkley, what have you been up to?
Well, often we all do naughty things, you know. So I've been in this issue with this guy named Jason Zurka. And I got into it, Danny, because a friend of mine named Sandra Rose Michael. I have known I call her Sand. I have known her 35 years and we've been friends. And I watched as this Jason guy and his late father set her up to steal her business. Set her up to steal it. And okay, that's all right. Business is business. Her son, Michael, runs a business. Jason's father was 62. Jason was 24, 25. And the kind of language, Danny, and the kind of things that this kid said without his father slapping the piss out of him was intolerable by me. It's all right if two boys get into a contest and they call each other every name in the book and do everything that they could possibly do, all right, with each other, because that's just business. But when you're 25 years old and you attack a 73-year-old woman and you attack her with the kind of language you hear in locker rooms and gutter and rap music, I was not going to have it. I just I just was not going to have it because I had watched her for 35 years, single parent, raising children, and bringing what's called the EE systems, the energy enhancement systems, this leap into people understanding that they're energetic. You know, my whole push is you don't die. You're an ethereal, energetic being, and you're an electrical being. And so I see how what Sand does fits with what I'm doing. And I see this little kid and his father come to do everything as low down as you could possibly do and literally have prepared what they were going to do. So I had to have it where this kid personally attacked me. You know, I had to be where he would have personally attacked me because he would skirt around me because I've been in the Swami business for 50 years. You know, I've been here and I have a pretty good reputation about what's real and what's not real. And so I had to lure the little fool into attacking me so that I could publicly respond being a public character. Well, he fell for it. I took a plastic sign this big. I'd untaped it. I turned it over and upside down. I took the tape off, I taped it back, and I wrote, "We were here because we were supposed to be there for an appointment. We were supposed to be there for an appointment. Jason is a liar, signed Dannion Brinkley." I knew, as stupid as he was, or as where kids are at 28, you know, when you think you know everything and old people
Mm.
don't know anything, that he would take the bait. So when I looked at his AI clickbait statement and his AI clickbait statements up to it, you would have thought that I had destroyed the whole place. It was
Hmm.
a sign, Danny, this big.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when he was reading his statement, his big grand, you won't believe it, all of that, what everybody saw. When he's reading his statement, whoever wrote that AI speech for him was every term that would push it on analytics. That no matter what he said, it was going to capture some form of the audience. And then, in order to be able to see the comments, you had to join his little cult. And then, of those over 400 comments, that people came in my defense, just knowing me. You know, if it was me and my normal self, it wouldn't be a sign I'd tear up. It would be him. If
Hmm.
it had been this is me, Danny. If you talk about my mother, the way I heard him and three other women owners tell me in the terms that he used, and it had been my mother, and his father did not put soap in his mouth or whatever fathers do, there wouldn't have been any problem about whether it would have been a worthy of people watching it on the news. You and I talk about my sister or my mother that way, not about over some stupid business transaction where you are the thief. He's the thief. He's a con man and he's a liar. I hate it. I hate it. So when I decided I would wait till after the court hearing, he lost 3 or 4 positions in court yesterday. Of the 4 positions, he lost 3 and 1 is in review. He just got fined $54,000 for his antics. And they're never fulfilling on the lawsuit. But no one, San is single. She raised 4 kids. She's a wonderful human being. And Danny, her heart, sometimes she says things that are a little crazy, they a little out there. But her whole life has been about helping people understand healing from an energetic point of view. But you're not going to talk to my peers as though because you're a little punk kid thinking you're the Messianic revival. You're not going to talk about friends like that. And if it had been my mother or my sister with what I heard him say, my only problem is what I would have done with the body.
Oh my God. I was waiting for the I was waiting for the punchline. Oh, you make me die. When I saw it, I don't know, I'm like, what on earth has happened? And then obviously I'm hearing first time the up to date, like, and before we even started recording, I said to you, don't tell me, let's just do it live so it's unscripted. Not that you and I ever do anything scripted, but just so, I can have an honest reaction. So, wow, that's a lot more than I bargained for. But that's so funny. So you took a sign and turned it upside down and taped it and called the boy a liar. That's so interesting.
Listen
So,
to everything that he said, but Danny, look at what all he did. He clickbaited it to death. Anything he thought that would get attention. I mean, it's funny that a kid in the Swami business is what I call all that, to want to take me on and to be so delusional that he's going to come at me and make me turn it because they were supposed to be there for appointment, but the power had been shut off in the block. So they didn't just think about letting me know. Okay. And so I get there, I shake the door. I said, wow, what's wrong? I said, well, not here. I said, well, let's let them know we were here. And I turned the sign over, wrote, we were here. Jason is a liar, Dannion Brinkley. So they'd know who it was, who turned the sign over. I didn't tear, scratch, harm, dent, nothing.
wow.
Turned it over, taped it up, wrote 8 words, 7 words.
Wow, wow. It's always the best to get it straight from the person who's actually involved, in the event. Exactly, exactly.
That
Because
would
the
be me.
way, huh?
That would be me.
Yeah, the way it came across and the couple of notices I saw was that Dannion Brinkley vandalized, like you'd gone in and kicked over, light system boxes and all the rest of it. But I
I
mean,
think that's wonderful. I think you should spread that same rumor. And I tell them that I put lamb's blood over the top of the door.
oh my God.
And Danny, think about this. That was in December. That happened December the 5th.
Oh,
That event, and he had to wait until one court case came, which they threw out, and he had to figure out a way to take my name, figure out how to take my name. If you search Saved by the Light on any day, there's a billion searches. And if I've done something, the largest I've ever seen on the Dannion search is 5,620,000,000 searches.
Woo! And Saved by the Light is your book, just for those that may not know. You're one of your first book, Saved by the
Yeah.
Light. Yeah.
Well, 5,620,000,000. So when you see that kind of numbers and you can use my name and knowing I sold somewhere, well, so I got a report that said I sold 20 million books. That means the numbers say that if somebody buys a book, at least two other people read it.
Mm,
So three times 20 million, that's a lot of people who read that book. And a smart AI person using clickbait would use my name as many times as they can, make it as vandalous as they can to draw and try and capture as large a market as they can over something that's just utter nonsense. But that's the society that we live in, and I will respond to it. I will
yeah.
respond to him, but being old and being me, and being that he has a video of how stupid he is, he shows a video of it. It's the stupidest. I mean, how can a child think, Danny, for a brief moment that that something like that, and my 50 years of being here, that he thinks he could use that? It's so childish. It's a good thing I wasn't in my 20s when this happened.
Hmm. Exactly. I mean, you're pretty dominant and scary in many ways now because you're just a man. You own all of you and you know the reality of where we go and where we've been because you've been there. So it's really quite difficult to upset you on any level, as we know. So
I think Danny, I think everybody's funny. I feel, I feel, this is me personally. I feel sorry for the kid. And in talking to Sandra and Michael and the legal team and everything, they said, Dannion, how in the world can you feel sorry for somebody that he and his late father, you're watching what they're doing? I said, well, when you cross me, I go become a Marine and I plot and I wait and I time it and I watch. You don't ever see me coming. And I maneuver it just the way it ought to be. And then I destroy you. So, what I'm going to do to Jason in his Masonic quest, which is he saw what Sandra was doing in the energetic platforms of the EE system as his Masonic lift to energetics. We have to understand that everyone is electrical. When he heard all that and he saw the things and the kind of things that were happening, then he saw this as the platform, and his father saw it as a platform for his Masonic rise, then became the rise of the TLS system, which is what he said was he was chosen by a group of ancients, thousands of years old, and there were 7,000 of them. They were hybrids and aliens and extraterrestrials. And he had never been a member of the organization, but he had been chosen to be their spokesman to the world. Okay. And that's where he began his Messianic conquest. Then the TLS was an ancient system, thousands of years old. But if you look at it, his father bought it in 2020. He bought the title from some guy in England, the light system, some guy in England from some book called the Pyramid Code.
Mm,
And he bought this and he read it. And then he decided that this was the perfect clickbait story to tell the world that he had been chosen to lead them into the promised land. And this is the character that you see, the loving character. But the way his mind sets and the kind of conversation he has with women, Danny, and the kind of language he uses, There is no way that he is capable of sustaining a messianic position. And I told him myself, I said, I said, listen, Jason, I'm a fan. I think you're doing a magnificent job. And I think your sales and your everyday, because sans people don't do that. That's an everyday in what you're doing. I said, but let me tell you something. What you're doing is harming all the owners of centers all over the world. And you keep blaming it on Sandra when it's really you. And it's really you that's keeping people from being able to get into places to get the kind of energetic pattern they need to be healed and to be able to come back into harmonic alignment in a world filled with electronic dust and problems. So, in two places of the failure of this child on his quest to become recognized as something great, that he thinks he can talk about people who are friends of mine, Sandra, her daughter, and I'm going to, Marla Maples. I mean, Marla Maples is a Georgia girl who's married to Donald Trump. I listen to that kind of stuff, Danny, and I'm not gonna have it.
Hmm.
I'm not going to have it. Business is business, and boys can fight it out and go through all that kind of crap, especially to something that's important as this, to bring it down to a level where Jason's brought it down to. I'm not going to have it.
Hmm.
Just like
Well,
what's happening right now in California. I was talking to some friends of mine. I spent 44 years in the VA, and I spent 21 years in the West Los Angeles VA. And now they've charged 221 hospice programs with fraud.
mm-mm.
I think to myself now, you could have never bought me. And I would have stopped that from happening if I'd stayed in California and Nevada, if I'd have stayed there and this would have come, I would have stopped it long before. And I had a conversation yesterday with the people that helped me build the Twilight Brigade and help build it into the standard end of life care model, the original people. Uh, and we would have stood up. We would never have let this happen. And we had that conversation yesterday, and I'm kind of proud of that because when you get to the place that you're scamming palliative and end of life care, evil has reached its strongest position.
Yes.
I've always said that evil has its greatest chance in palliative and end of life because you can destroy whole family legacies. You can make a family legacy or you can destroy one. Brothers and sisters who have been the best of friends their whole life never speak to each other again. Evil has its greatest chance because the instability of the spiritual reality of who everybody is. And instead of looking at that, we look at pettiness and crap and garbage.
Hmm.
So I would have never allowed it. I had my time to be bought. I had this big organization in the early days of the famed Dannion to come to me because instead of going to staying in fancy hotels and eating $12 soup, I would stay in hotels near hospices and I would go around and do hospice.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take my time instead of being famous and I would do hospice. I would go visit hospice programs. And I'd rather have done that when I worked in Washington instead of going around and chasing interns. I won't say I didn't chase some interns, but going around chasing interns, I could leave the Capitol and be at the VA. I could be at the VA in 8 minutes. So I would rather go up to be around passing veterans than I would in that maze of madness that is how Washington and Hollywood and all those places work. So I think that when you take hospice and childcare and you use those as your platform to scheme, America has, and without any question, is collapsing.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm not sure that people coming to listen to this conversation now are fully aware, not everybody in my audience, of the great work, the great hospice work that you've done. I mean, you literally work with the dying and you will see them on their journey. And you've worked with over 4,000 people, more than that at this time. I mean, when you've been doing this, I mean, tell us more about that, when you started and why you're so invested and care so much about people who are dying.
Nobody dies, Danny.
I
The
know.
biggest lie ever told to you, the biggest lie ever told to you is somebody tells you you're going to die. That's utter nonsense. It's nonsense. And to think that and all the reasons and what's going to happen when you die, what you have to do before you die, what you have to do after you die, what you should be doing, and all that stories everybody heard, maybe a third of that stuff's true. No problem. I've been a hospice volunteer for 48 years. I've been with 2,017 people going from this world to the next world. I'm my 2018th person now. I've been with 358 taking their last breath. I built the largest end of life care volunteer program for dying veterans in American history, and I co wrote the standard end of life care model presently being used by the Veterans Administration, which is the largest health care program in America. So when
Amazing.
it comes down to death and dying, I've been dead so many times it's like a comedy routine. But I know both sides of this game. I understand what's next and what to look for, and understand what a person in transition has to have. And I learned it from, I have at the bedside in the VA, I have 34,000 hours at the bedside. If you looked at the total amount of bedside, I'd be pushing 90,000 hours of sitting and watching people in transition and their family members. And I've been them. I've been that person in the bed going, and I've been the person sitting watching relatives like my mom and my dad passing. And I've watched this and I developed these programs. I didn't just go around telling some crappy story. I developed these programs that could be used in a clinical medical setting from what I learned from being dead. Nobody ever dies. And anybody who's listening to you or anybody who tells you that you're going to die, that's a fool. Whatever it is, as soon as someone tells you you're going to die, or what the reason of why what's going to happen next, put your hands in your pockets and hold on to your wallet because hold on to your billfold because what's coming next is some lie. Number two, 95% of everybody who has a near-death experience, or sometimes known as parts of a near-death experience, is the out-of-body experience. They see their body lying in the bed. They see the body lying in the car wreck. They see the body lying on the side of the road. They see the body sitting in the chair. The thing that the divine wanted everybody to look at that point of something that is consistently occurring in people having what is now called a near-death experience is who is the observer. If you're looking down at your body, and that's the terms that you're using, you're looking down at your body. Well, who is the observer? The observer would have to be you. So how could you be both of those as consciousness? Because you're not conscious in that thing you're looking at. Your conscience looking down. Your conscience is looking down at it. That means you are not that body. That's what the lesson was. But nobody got it. I watched this stuff, Danny. I mean, I live in it, and I live in that quantum reality that most people call dead, and I don't have any problems around what most people call death and dying and all of that because I know how perfectly the system operates. I'm a victim or a winner of this. So and the third thing is that you're an electrical being. If people would get these three things and stop for in their life as this spring comes, if they would just freaking stop and trust me, try it. Quit being crazy. You stop being crazy, everybody. The world is changing. And if you don't think that the world that you were born in disappeared about 3, 4 weeks ago. I'd say October the 7th, when all that stuff happened in Israel. If you don't think that the world is changed and that a new world is being formed before your very eyes, you have lost your freaking mind. You're so delusional. You're so delusional that you've lost the grip of reality. And my problem with that, it's okay for everybody to be crazy. But when you disconnect from reality, you affect the shifting nature of timelines. And some people constrict work building across constructive timelines, knowing that they're going to occur and happen as a part of a sequence and a cycle. So you build things across those timelines so that they're operating in more than one sphere or area in the overall platform of where the thing's going.
Mm.
So I want people to understand that you are a spiritual being. And there's only three things: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. Okay. Well, in 1904, in the periodic table, we had another element, and it was called ether. So instead of three forms of matter, there was four. Well, in 1904, it disappeared. So the only forms of matter is a solid, liquid, and a gas till quantum came. Now, quantum has a new name for ether. It's called plasma. Now there are four parts to matter. Four parts. Well, when it was ether, which helps you understand the energetic nature of you, and people say, well, how in the world could I possibly be an electrical being? How could that possibly be? Well, you have 35 billion cells. Anybody in this audience thinks that you don't have any cells, then you quit listening to me. But if your body is made out of cells, 35 billion of them, okay, then these are facts. Those cells are talking to each other. Scientific freaking fact. They are talking to each other electrically.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know? You can record it. Okay? Fact. Every cell must maintain 70 to 90 millivolts of charge. That means that cell has to have an electrical charge between 70 and 90 millivolts. That's what has to freaking happen. If it gets below 70, it heads down that pathway to falling apart. If the electricity in the cell begins to break down, if it gets below 20, they call that cell cancerous. And why does it become cancerous? Insufficient light. Fact.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no escape from that you're an electrical being. And once a person frames that in their mind and they look at ether, and then they look at the ethereal, then their connection to the divine stays constant. So many things are coming about now in the shift and the change to block those levels of consciousness from being attained. That's what's happening. I believe that the battle for the souls of humankind is being fought in healthcare. I've only said this for 50 years, and I've spent the last 48 years in end-of-life care. 48 years in end-of-life care, studying it, understanding it, how it works, what people go through, how religious affects, how selfishness, anguish, how all those psychological patterns that come into play there, and how evil can manipulate it if you don't have a program or a platform to observe it by. Hope and faith does not work when that person gets ready to leave you. And what you've been learning in Sunday school gets all weird.
Mm.
Okay. That stuff weirds out. So I think that, I mean, I'll go back to Jason for a moment. I have seen many people like Jason because I've been in this business for a long, long time. I've seen the best there is, and then I've seen all those charlatans, and I see how they play their hands and what they do, and I usually never bother them, Danny, because if they allow one person to break through and to find their way, then all that garbage was okay with. I don't care because people who once you open up, once you become aware that the world that you're hearing about is a real world, and ever what the reason is, the person's telling it to you is of more interest than the fact that that world is real. Why are you telling me this? I believe that everybody's going to be every person that they ever encounter. And they're going to feel the direct results of their interaction between them and that person. Not what you thought happened or what you were thinking happened or that, but your intention. What was the reason for why you did it? And when you realize that the true reason, anger, happiness, joy, that's the person, that's what you're going to be when you're that person and interact. So by being a hospice volunteer, I know calmness,
Yeah.
tranquility.
Mm.
I know what's next. So I don't live in fear of all that kind of stuff. And I do what I do because it is the right thing to do for all the right reasons to do it. And then you come along with a little kid, and it's his father who's now passed, so you can't talk about the past, the beloved past. But it was his father who I watched manipulate the whole thing.
Mm.
And it made me angry, Danny. It made me angry. Made me so angry that I would vandalize a piece of paper. And then right after I got in the car, because I was angry thinking about the kind of stuff that this guy who had this center was in partnership with Jason. And the sign said it had unified on it, which was Jason's little scamming, scheming, evangelical, ecclesiastical concept of building a cult. And I couldn't stand it being on one of these centers, so I untaped it, turned it upside down, took a pen. We were here. Jason is a liar. Sign my name.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got in the car, and Sam was, she said, I couldn't have stopped you. I said, there was nothing you could do. I said, I did this. You didn't do this. I did it. And I signed my freaking name to it. Okay. Okay. And I said, I don't care. None of this bothers me. And I get in the car, Danny, and I call Carla, the mother of the person. Her son was running the center, and he was in partnership with Jason. And she didn't know that. I mean, she wasn't so sure how all that was working. And so my anger was based on, I had just heard again the night before another Jason languaged story. The way he would talk if you were, I don't know what you would be, maybe a rapper.
Mm.
Okay. And I was angry about it when I saw that sign, but I called Carla and I apologized. I mean, on that same tape, I called her. I said, well, I got to be bigger than this. I called up and I said, Carla, I'm sorry I turned your sign upside down. But, something funny, Danny?
What?
Carla and I are old friends. I never knew that it was this person. And she was a part of the Twilight Brigade in the early years of the Twilight Brigade.
Mm.
In its early years. And Carla was a loyal, get it done when we were fighting the government and trying to get palliative care. When I came to the VA, the Veterans Administration, it didn't have a palliative or hospice system. They killed them in intensive care. There was nowhere to go. So, they just kill them in intensive care. And so, uh, in that fight, in those years, I mean, you couldn't have found a better person. You couldn't have found a better person more dedicated to the cause and to realize that it came all the way back around to Carla in Calabasas. And a decade later, I mean, a generation later.
Mm.
So I looked at Jason and that it was at that event on that timing at that place with Carla. And I don't know if people believe in coincidences, but if they do, that's as close to one. That's as close to one as you're going to get when you look at where you are in your spiritual life.
Mm.
So if you're going to be every person that you ever encounter, and you're going to feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person, you better always pay attention to your intention. Pay attention, everybody, to why you're doing it. Make sure you're really doing it for the reason you say you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, so many incredible things there. And on that point, these full circle moments, there are so many things people consider very chaotic in the world right now. It's definitely, a lot going on. People are either doing their healing, doing the work, whatever. We can get more into that because I know you've got very strong experiences with the kind of language I'm using right now. But I wish for people not to let themselves be recruited to fight others, get involved in others, because there's a lot of that happening because they're looking away rather than look here, and it's so interesting, like you say, being more aware of their actions and how that is going to come back on somebody because everyone's going to be every person they've ever encountered, pretty much.
And
So it's
feel
quite
the direct results.
feel the direct
Okay.
result, yeah.
And feel the direct, think about that in the specifics of not analog, but digital. Every feeling, every emotion, good, bad, all of that stuff. It's such a people, Danny, people think about guilt and fear and it's crap when they're going to have to face themselves. Okay. Because everybody lies to themselves. But think about the growth cycle that comes in observing the absolute, undisputed truth of your whole life. And it'd be so clear and so purposeful and so well designed that you stand in amazement, even then in the life review,
Hmm.
even then. And people cannot grip what the learning exercise is they're going to experience. One of the first things of what's next is that. I mean, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how people think about what's next and how they deal with it without listening to what I know about it.
Hmm.
I know. I mean, look at me. I've been dead. I've had near death experiences, but I've been dead, not maybe dead, but resuscitated over and over. So the joy in where people are, everything is chaotic, but it freaking should be. Everything should be freaking chaotic. Why? A whole world is being changed.
Hmm.
A whole the whole system is changing. A new cycle is in place. A new way, the way governments look at the Straits of Hormuz, look at all the fears, look at all the things that are occurring, all of it at once. What you see that is really you thought was real, it's not real. And what you people are telling us in America, we don't have a functioning government to fund protecting the people of America, homeland security,
Hmm.
and medicine and health care. These are the two subjects that's keeping the government from functioning. We're at freaking war.
Hmm. Yes.
We're at freaking war, and they took a 2 week Easter break.
Oh my God.
That means without any question, America has gone freaking crazy. Okay. So when you say everything is frantic, everybody, over here, everybody, It's frantic. People will make it or they won't make it. The shift is here and it's happening. And everything that you think and feel is happening around you because you're a part of it. It's about cleaning out and cleaning out and cleansing out everybody. Because if you don't do it, the load of all that stuff that brought us to here will hold you, will hold you. And then anguish becomes the next new illness. And they'll have to define anguish. I mean, they have terms that they use now, but anguish will be a term that would define where people will be. And I mean, I think it comes off of anxiety, but it's a concept or a nature of how you view the world around you. Not fearful. Just before it becomes fearful, because you can be controlled and manipulated if you're at that mental set of consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. Low vibration. Yeah, absolutely. What would you say to people who are in this preparation phase, being aware that the world is literally completely changing? What could be the best way for them to, harmonize with themselves, or whatever expression you would use?
Well, first realize that you're not going to die. Okay, stop it. Number two, you're not this body. So you have to be responsible for it, but not as if it were you. Not as if it were you, because the near death experience, which is mainstream, it's not some radical foolishness. And why is mainstream? Because the cardiopulmonary resuscitation techniques and chemical understanding of how the body works, people are being resuscitated. Okay, so it's mainstream medicine, it's allopathic medicine that's bringing us all back. So all the crap they tell us before we're going to go, everybody comes back. Well, how come we're not saying that same crap? We're saying completely different stuff. So the whole disruptive of the death and what's next narrative is come at a time when Raymond created the near-death experience. It would be time for now. You cannot argue with the scientific evidence. Mine's just an old case. And I've been around here, okay? But this is reality, everybody. Number two, if you're not that body, then who the frick are you? Who are you? Okay, you're an ethereal being. And when you take a little time to think about that, then you just use electrical. And instead of harmonies and frequencies and all those terms, because to tell you how your cell phone works will cause you to have a heart attack. Okay, but it still works. But we have to work on our energetic self. People have to learn to get how they consume the food they eat. How do you convert it to electricity the fastest? So that what it becomes is the joy of eating it, but the combinations of things that you take with that, so you get the fastest transfer of convertible chemical reactions to electrical charge reactions as clean and as fast as you can do it. So that means that the body works off of light basically because of the cellular structure. Then you would design whatever you're eating, you would design how peptides, or you would design exactly how it would convert the fastest. That makes people responsible for their body like fixing their car. But then it's them being responsible for it instead of them thinking they are it. Everybody, you are not this body. How do I know that? Think of this. In the true domain of power, the only thing that's you that's here is the sound of your voice. And when you let out that last half breath to leave this world, what else goes? Your voice. So the real you is the sound of your voice. The rest of that stuff, I'm not so sure. But I know that the sound of your voice and its intention tells about a person. So when that voice goes, you've left, but that body's still freaking here. Okay? It's got all the chemicals, all the proteins, all the vitamins, all the minerals. It's got everything. It's still lying right there. It's got everything in it, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't have you breathing and talking to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the absolute undisputed reality and facts of who we are. And if I could get people there, then if I can get people there, I know they'll probably take a breath
Mm.
and be amazed at how truly magnificent they are.
Mm.
You know, how magnificent to have a chance to be alive right now, to have this opportunity right now. I mean, you would have studied for it. It's like being an astronaut to be able to come to be a light bearer as this new age is born in this dense a sphere. God, it's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's truly incredible. And like you say, everybody is so magnificent. It's just beyond words to express the truth of that. And yet, as you were saying about the messianic, the individuals that create this following for themselves, they need to be the great ambassador, the next Jesus, the one. And it's so ludicrous to me that this is happening. But it has amplified. There are lots more groups, there are lots more individuals that set themselves up as the one, the bearer of the information, the one who is connected, the like with him, the ancient, as you were saying. I don't know his story. I wouldn't care to, because I have completely lost interest in personality,
Stop,
like
listen to
that.
me. Listen to me. Come on. The fun part, Jason just didn't handle it right, Danny. It's okay to be all that stuff. People can be all that stuff. He didn't handle it right. You cannot take something that's mystical or spiritual or that and bring it down to the kind of stuff that you say and think that you can be the spokesman of it, because you show your true self, who you really are, as opposed to who you really are, as opposed to who you think or you want people to believe you are. You know, that's my problem with it. Okay, that's just my problem, and I'm not going to have it. And then you decide to attack me and make up some kind of garbage. Okay, there's too much greatness out there, and people need to be supported in all of this. Instead of putting up with this kind of stuff, he just picked the wrong old dragon to push out around. All I can figure, and I'm gonna hurt him.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
God.
all right, so uh, I have to stop for like 1 minute. Can I stop for a minute?
Of course. And we're back. That was a very quick minute.
I think the very most important part that people have to look at, that's the truth. There is no freaking way they would be here at this time if there was anybody better than them at being themselves in the nature of divinity. You would not, the worst person you ever see is the best there is. There's no one better than you. Now, how you manage that based on free will once you're here, that's on you. But if you're here now and the changing of a cycle and the birth of another age, and you're here, then no matter what you think, or no matter what you hope somebody gets you to believe, there is nobody better. You are chosen to come here, and then you choose to come. Those are the rules, Danny. I don't care what everybody says, why they say it, when they say it. I don't care. That's all stupid to me. This is a place where greatness comes to hold certain levels of divinity, and create away what appears to be the physical manifestation of divinity, like they say, heaven on earth. Okay, so in the up in the big league, well, let's say you were looking at all the angels, right? All the Sephiroth angels, all that high command, the big time angels, they're looking down at us peasants who come here. They angels can't come here and stay very long. I mean, it's like as long as they can hold their breath, come take the dogs in the well. Everybody's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Then they disappear. Hell, we stay. We're here all the time. And I,
Mm.
I think, I think about that when I was in the first one, being dead, and I was watching these beings, and I could tell it wasn't like they were hero. They were, and this is hard to say like in English, Danny, but it was as though they admired us or
Mm.
they had a tinge of envy. Okay.
Mm.
Because I pay attention. I don't care what's going on around me, I'm paying attention to it. And that we were heroes and heroines, and they made that distinctive. And that we were the brave ones who would come to co create with the divine. And no one told me this, but it was though that they depended on us to do that as a job.
Mhm.
Whew, strange. Okay, so when you see that, it gives you a personal identity. Okay. I was going through too much other stuff to log that as a priority because I was trying to keep from blacking out and passing out and hurting so bad. I want to cry and whining and being pitiful and all that stuff. But when you keep living through it like I do, you look back at it and you see how the structure was, what the meaning was in the things that I saw and was told when I was over there. And that was 50 freaking years ago.
Mm.
I have 50 years of studying death and 48 years as a hospice volunteer.
Mm.
All right. And I can look and see that people are staying the same. If you keep doing what you're always doing, this is the probable possibilities of the future, which became the book Saved by the Light.
Mhm. Yeah, the great book, Saved by the
Yeah.
Light. Mm.
And then what I was going to do about it, called At Peace in the Light. And if you read At Peace in the Light today, the 31-year-old book, 31-year-old book, and you read At Peace in the Light, other than changing two government agencies, you could have tracked where I have been the last 30 years and what I was doing for that 30 years. Easy to see, been out there for 30 years. Pick you a page. I'll tell you exactly where it was, why it was, when it was. Battle for the souls of humankind will be fought in healthcare. Here's what'll happen. Here's the probable possibilities of it. Here's what I'm going to do about it. Here's how I've executed it. And then I'm going to write it in the book. So 30 years from now, you can read it. See, I was doing exactly what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, amazing.
You don't think that's not funny?
Oh.
And then I wanted to write the caregiver book. I knew where caregivers was going to happen. I knew because the caregiver is the backbone of the healthcare system. And when you in palliative and end of life care, which creates the greatest strain, 60% of every dollar in healthcare is spent in the last 6 months of life to extend life an average of 15 days in the United States. And those last 15 days are some of the most horrible times you'll ever spend. Okay. And I've lived through them for 48 years.
Mm.
So there is where I just chose to make my mark with who I am as Dannion Brinkley.
Mhm.
It's where I'm going to make my mark about what I believe in and who I am and the distance I've traveled. And Jason has turned me into an evil, villainous person.
What shall you do? Oh no. Oh, you gotta laugh, you know.
What? A little kid jumps on me. My God.
God.
Oh God. Gunslinger. Here he
Um,
comes. Oh God.
oh my goodness.
Poor little fool.
Pity the fool. I do. I do. I swear I
I
do. I pity the fool.
like 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 down here in the South, Daddy, bless his little heart.
Ah.
But I blame his dad too, though. I blame his dad. I mean, I do. I
Um,
mean, I know he's departed and all that.
mm. Let me ask you a question that I'm sure people will have on their mind. As you've sat beside so many people leaving, what are some of the signs? Like, have you witnessed their beloveds coming for them in spirit? Have you seen light orbs? Have you seen angels? Give us some of that insight to the last kind of moments or, signatures that we might look out for.
Let's look at it from just Dannion Brinkley, not cosmic Dannion, but Dannion Brinkley. I have 18 times, and three of them I'm suspicious of. But that I have seen people lift out of their bodies. I've seen people lift out of their bodies. I've seen the room fill with beings. I've seen people get out of their bodies and be a little confused because they are still present in this sphere. I mean, they're still present here, but it's short time. And I've seen beings come to get people. I was the beings to me, but people come to get them. And I can say 18 times, I can say 15 times, there was no question. And I always used to say to people, look, it says where in the Bible, it says, where two more gather in my name, so shall I be among you. Well, where in the world are you going to get a better chance than that? If there you are, you going. Here I am. Well, where two or more gather, well, honey, we gathered here. Okay, so show and tell. So the three I wonder about, Danny, is because I was tired. And we would pull vigils. I
Mhm.
mean, we would do 24 hours. They had nobody. And they were going and they had nobody. So we would pull shifts with them because they were terrified. So it might be 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe I was dozing off with what I thought I saw. They did pass at that moment. Okay. But what I thought I saw, which was a being, and I'm pretty sure I did, but I would still be suspect. I don't fool around with that. If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. If I say this is what it is, it's exactly what it was. And if I don't worry about it, then if I think of something not quite right, but write it because people have to understand if you're in that room, you're in the shifting energetic pattern anyway.
Mhm.
It's not just one person going, it's a whole nature of the feeling of everybody happening and loss and grief and all the things that each of us work through when we pass, someone passes. Okay. And then what our belief systems and the kind of things and all the things that people go through are going to be dealt with at such an overwhelming force in the next 2 to 3 years between now and 2030. It will be an overwhelming baby boomers. It will overwhelm every system there is. And so they're having to build models right now to try to anticipate it. That's what all the European talk is about. I mean, it's what Britain's about. Here you are. You know, the largest population explosion. They've lived longer. there's more of them, and they constitute literally a third of the population, and they're the most expensive.
Mm. Mhm, mhm. Wow. Goodness me. Well, these three books that you wrote over 31 years ago, again, just to go through them for people: Saved by the Light, Secrets of the Light, At Peace in the Light, are such a magnificent global body of work that millions and millions and millions of people have bought and read and shared. And so the information's out there. Do you allow yourself a moment to go, wow, I did that?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. I mean, I have I have a very calm place, Danny, about where I've seen and how I've maneuvered the reality of the near death experience into mainstream America. I mean, everybody can say what they want to say, but I would Raymond. I mean, I spent 20 years with Raymond, but in the 50th anniversary of the near death experience, I drove this into mainstream America. I drove it, and I made sure that people had this place to come to, because of what I saw happen to me, there was no way back from it. And the fact that people were being resuscitated and you have no way to deal with this. It's just now they have a platform and they have some place to go that they can see what happened to them. And it's called the near death experience, and it gives them some kind of platform to see what happened to you. And if people don't look at this as an alternative to who they are in reality, it's the biggest mistake they'll ever make. It's the biggest mistake. Watch. How many times a day? How many times a day does your heart beat? You're not thinking you're an electrical being. Between 94 and 104,000 times a day, your heart beats. Well, it's got to have like 0.45 millivolts of electricity to cause it to beat. Fact. Maybe my definition of the amount of millivoltage might be a little off, Danny, but I'm close.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you would go to measure that kind of almost nano voltage, you got to remember the what level of frequencies you're dealing with, based on that is still current, still a stream of current of electrical flow. And then it becomes waves, okay? But when you look at it from right there, the possibilities of who you are, what you can achieve, and how you can redefine who your body is and get it in the shape to do what you need it to do, and get the most out of the fact that you're in this shift. I mean, there is nothing we can do, everybody. But it's like being surfers. We didn't paddle all the way out here not to catch this wave.
Mm.
We did not. Okay, so for everybody, there's nobody better than you. I promise you, nobody. And not defining what you do. What would God think about you? It'd be what you cared about. And then, more importantly, it'd be why did you care about it?
Mm.
Okay. Then somehow, Danny, it shifts into what becomes a value. Okay. Which is how the process works. Things have values. Somebody could tap somebody and the tapping physical is gone. It's just the value placed upon why. Was it loving? Was it insulting? Because that's the value. This is how this system works. I'm showing you how that system, so we place a value on it, and from that value is where things operate, where it moves from, and how it reacts to, and what it does.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
interesting when you realize what a magnificently powerful being you are. and the skill sets that you possess. I know the skill sets we possess because I mean, I got struck by freaking lightning. There was nowhere to go.
Mm.
I didn't sign up. I didn't take any course. Okay. You know, I didn't have no guru, no swami. I didn't, you know, I didn't, none of that. All that's nonsense to me. Nonsense. Till I was dead. And then it doesn't matter what people think or say. Was I dead? That's a ridiculous thought. Patient unconscious, patient not breathing, no EKG in 1975. What is that? That's what it says on the paper. So I have all that paper.
Mm.
I have all that paper. It makes everybody funny. You know, where all of a sudden everybody becomes a comedy routine.
Oh, no.
Can you count to 10 and do you know what a year is? Can you read English?
Mm.
If you can do those three things, you're done. Good night, Irene.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I do take a moment and celebrate it. But I laugh at how little the world opens itself up to who it really is and how controlled the media is in
Mm.
putting out information that is beneficial to us that they know they have.
Mhm.
And so then that I'm thankful for shows like yours to just get that information out there, to give people a chance. Okay, catch your breath. Here's another crazy person.
And
And
he will
well,
kick your ass if you're
yeah,
rude to the ladies.
yeah, well, you can't do that, Danny. You take away something. You take away, and I maybe I don't know if it's old fashioned or what it is, but you take away something that's sacred.
Mm.
You know, like I don't like rap music because it takes a sacredness out of the feminine. Okay, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, I always tell people that I think God is a woman because first it makes them mad right off the bat. You know,
Yes.
yeah, no. I have them I have them on the run from the beginning because my relationship with God is I think she's moody, you know, and I think she likes things her way, but all the time she doesn't know exactly what her way is, and that she has a lightness and a nature of appreciation, little tiny things that you would never notice that would have value to God, but that they do. It's like the little things that you do because it was the right thing. It didn't have all the power to it. It was just like the right thing. And that means I need to add to her happiness.
Mm.
Okay. You know, I need to add to her happiness. Because if you have that kind of sacredness about the divine law, there is the law and then there is the nature of the law. Well, how you define the nature of the law is the sacred values that hold together powers of love as a force that moves forward and creates. And this is just basic reality, but people don't lock their soul's identity based on things that we know to be the absolute truth.
Mhm.
And we don't. I mean, and why? Because we've been conditioned and patterned and thought that way. I would have been the worst there was, Danny. I would have been, think about if I hadn't have been struck by lightning. Jesus Christ, I'd be dead, but I mean, you know, I wouldn't have made it another 4 or 5 years. But I sure have been having a good time, or I thought I was. Okay. But,
Ah.
but I tell people the truth. I need people to understand. Stop it. Stop it. You're taking so much away from yourself. You're taking too much away from you.
Mhm. Wow.
So that's my point. So I'm glad I got to do a show about where I see energetic medicine is. Because everybody, if you're listening to me, listen to this. Science is going to expose you to the fact that you are an electrical being. And they're going to expose you to the fact that you are an electrical being in the form of that you can be programmed like a computer. And because that this can happen, they're able to measure certain illnesses, diabetics, blood pressure, heartbeat, which they can do all this now on your phone.
Mm.
So you're going to learn that you're an electrical being. If you learn that you're an electrical being through x-rays and not x-rays, but from MRIs and CAT scans, all that is electromagnetics that sees through you. An MRI, a CAT scan, MRI or CAT scan. These are electromagnetics that sees through you. Okay, you're an electrical being. Please, everybody, give it a break. Try it. Okay, try it, because once you do this, the excitement about who you are from the point I'm trying to make equal to the point they're going to make, because that means the more that electrical nature comes into play, the more the wellness aspects of it, med beds, all those things come into play instead of harmonics. It's like changing the equilibrium of something, correcting something that you knew better than to keep doing, knowing where it was going to get you. That's who wants to get in the med bed.
Very
So,
interesting. Yeah.
but when you construct a reality, Danny, all realities in this sphere, this density, is based on desire. Everything manifests itself out of a desire. The desire to know, the desire to be, the desire to become, but it comes out of a desire. And then intent and what the power of that desire is in the drive to achieve it. Mm. Is how this reality brings itself into being, but its core nature is desire. What do you desire? And so I'm going to tell you what I desired, what I keep. We were still talking about me praising myself. I'm still there. So I was laughing about that. I have been successful at a lot of stuff. Staying alive is one of those. But I thought about, in all of those successes, there's one thing that I've never, ever been able to achieve. And I've worked literally 50 years at trying to be it. And it was being nice all day for one full day.
Oh my God.
So I never, I, because something sets me off. And it was probably Jason's unified sign that set me off.
Yeah, well, that'll do it. The way you were, standing for your friend. I understand that, when someone's not protected, and they've done everything they can to be the best
Single
version of
mom.
themselves.
Think about
Yeah,
it, Danny. She was a single mom. I would
yeah,
see her on the tour. I would see her on the tour. Okay. And that we were just friends, as just the best of friends, and we'd see each other 10 or 12 times a year for years and years and years and years and years. So we'd just sit down and talk, because if I wanted to eat and she wanted to eat, then we would find each other in the restaurant. And then when someone would walk up to one of us to talk to one of us, we'd both make a face at them like we were doing something really serious, and they would leave us alone. And then Sam and I could catch a breath.
right.
Could catch your breath. And then this is 10 to 12 years of this. So I know the story of her whole life. She knows my whole life. We know everything about each other. We're friends. Okay. And so I've been through everything she's been through. I've heard about it all from her own lips.
Mhm.
Okay. So I look at I look at a single mom bringing something into the healing arts that's performing and has the potential to perform unbelievable curative waves of it, patterns of energy that accelerates the cell's ability to produce more than 90 millivolts of power. If you can get a cellular level harmonizing at 105 or 106 millivolts, okay, as opposed to 90. I mean, there's a point where you can't go over that, Danny. But the more light that is being generated within the confines of that cell, the faster that body will age, de-age, anti-age, all those things that grown people electrically can look at and see that it's really true. It's not maybe it's this, this is it. All right. So when you look at it from that point of view, that would have to be stopped. That couldn't come into existence. So if you're looking at it from a conspiratorial point of view, and I know I'm raging on, but what that whole thing about where Jason is doing would be it would be a natural something if the battle for the souls of humankind was being fought in healthcare. Then there would be a shadow of what we're trying to do that would show itself to identify with, mirror match, and to identify and either outmarket, outsell, or use the same concepts. Okay. And this is what Jason has blatantly done based on him getting caught at building a cult.
Goodness
Even all
gracious.
the even all the paperwork. I mean, you can't believe it, Danny, that you can build this Messianic uh, adventure that Jason has gone on, and it's just typical. And I was talking to everybody, Michael and Sandra. I was talking to everybody, and because I feel sorry for him at 28 years old. When I turn and just go back to why I turned the sign over everybody, and I don't know how to clickbait as big as everybody. I don't know how to do everything was Jason was doing, but let me tell you what the reality is, what the truth is. So I think it's probably I haven't had this much fun since there was a good war.
My God. Oh my goodness. You are just naughty. That's it. Oh, I love it. I love it. Wow. This has been lovely just to hear you just let go, just to share, just to be in flow. It was great. And I didn't need to barely interrupt, even ask a question. I think this was really quite magical. And, there are so many, as we've said earlier, millions and millions who've read your books and have learned so much from you. And it's inspirational on so many levels. And the honoring that you have for each soul is also a beautiful thing, because we're all on a journey. The journey's up and down. There's so much wrong and so much right and so much this and so much that. But
Opportunities to change, opportunities to create, opportunities. Look, it's insane, but it should be insane because it's a whole new existence coming. Everything should be happening. It should be this insane. It's knowing that that's what it is. It gives you the calm ability to negotiate it. I mean, we're here and we have the job, and that's it. And the rest of that stuff's just poetry. So I want to appreciate you, Danny, and appreciate the you being out here and putting your show on and doing what you do. And I think I just enjoyed the last 15 minutes more than I've enjoyed anything in a long time. I was having fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, it's beautiful to see you. And I'm so glad that, we got that cleared up. That you weren't taking
Well, I'll try
sledgehammers
to
and
listen.
smashing up
I'll
offices and equipment.
Okay, I'll try to come up with some. Let me think of something bad that I could do, but I just don't really see anything that I could do that was really bad.
Mhm.
I just don't. I feel sorry for Jason. Like that was the thing I was making that point. I feel sorry for him. I was talking to Sam and Michael about it, and he's smart enough, Danny, to be moving now. He's smart enough to be moving out of his ecclesiastical position. I mean, he's smart. It's not really Jason. There is a force or a field behind this that are a lot more skilled and smarter than a 28-year-old child. Don't let anybody fool you. And if energetic medicines is the future and the platform already exists as one, and you walk in and you copy it and you steal all the technology or you think you did, then that's the perfect mirror. And if anybody's listening and they want to see reality, go look up CRISPR.
Mm.
Just go type up on your computer CRISPR and let CRISPR tell you what the patently it does. And if you're not electrical, how did CRISPR get a patent to program energetically your body? See, people have to grow up, Danny, or learn how not to read English. Okay? This is the only choice you got. And to get ahead of the game, to get ahead of it, is we have to embrace it because it's what's coming. Okay, that part of the rebellion hasn't even set itself where the rebellion can happen because the instrumentation has not been put in place. Okay, where the bonding comes, quote unquote, puts itself in place, but all that stuff is moving. All those big blocks of paper, gold, currencies, all that currency, all that stuff is moving. All those banking systems are shifting and changing. I mean, I see it.
Mhm.
You know where to look. And I've already seen it. Remember, Danny?
Yeah.
I wrote it in Saved by the Light. I saw 50 years into the future. I see the 2030. I mean, some of it I see it more clear now than I saw it then, but we have the opportunity in our hearts to refocus such a power and elevate our own consciousness because we've made it to a period of change that comes naturally. And guardians of that loving, caring consciousness or light bearings is our official job. How do we make the situation we're in a little better than we found it? What's a smile or a pat on the back or what makes that a little better? And then back to the business of trying to manage a world going insane. And every one of us are capable of doing it. I ask everybody to do this. Please pay attention to your breathing. Other than that, you're electrical. Here's a high point of life, everybody. Every time you take a breath, it fills your sinus cavities and you stop. You are divinely connected at that moment using your pineal gland. You are in communion with God. And then you breathe out. Fact. When you breathe in, you fill your 8 sinus cavities. You put your finger on your pineal gland and you draw and take a pen and you connect your sinus cavities. you get the sign of infinity. So when you breathe in, you feel those sinus cavities, you're divinely connected. Then you set the intention and the value of what it is that you're breathing out for to achieve, and you breathe out. The divine would measure the depth of the breath that you took because she finds her appreciation in how deep you breathe, because this is how you sustain and affect your life. And the pattern of your breathing and the depth of your breath becomes an important way that she can, that the divine force can operate within. And when people learn that every so often take a breath and hold it for a little longer, give the divine a little more time in there to help straighten things out. And then let that, when you let it out, let me love a little more, or let me appreciate how people love, or let me something, when you set the value of breathing out.
It's beautiful. It's such good advice, such sage advice. Um,
It will work, Danny,
yeah.
because it's the law at work in reality. And if I'm going to be responsible to feel it, knowing I'm going to become every person I ever encounter, and I'm going to feel the direct results of my interaction between me and that person, why would I tell them something that is not the truth? Why would I? And that I knew it to be that. I had faith. A lot of people have faith in a lot of stuff. Well, I don't have faith in none of this. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I thought that it's funny, if I'm lying to you in the life of you, how crazy can I possibly be?
Mm-hmm.
Or how important do you think you are? The two places. So I'm just telling them what the deal is. And how do we capitalize on it? Don't be awestruck in the fact that this is the truth. All the science that proves what I'm telling you is all around you anyway. And most of it comes through medicine.
Mm.
MRIs, CAT scans, sonograms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all this comes through medicine that shows you're an electrical being. You think you can tell the sonogram? You think you can tell a maker of a MRI scan that you are a piece of meat? Do you think that you can find one of those uh, presidents of one of those MRI companies that use electromagnetic frequency to tell you you're not an electrical being? You think you can get one? Try it. Everyone is going to say you're an electrical being if you use electromagnetics to be able to see through you and look at an organ. I mean, what does that tell you? There's the organ. Here's a little picture of it. I'm even going to send it to you digitally by freaking mail over to over to your email, and you can cut it on and you can freaking look at it. And yeah, well, there it is in front of you. That's you. There is the problem. There is what's wrong with the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right in front of you. And you think it's not electrical. See, that to me, Danny's craziness.
Yeah, that's proper craziness. Wow. Wow. Well, listen, we'll bring this beautiful conversation to a close for this point in time until we meet again, Mr. Dannion Brinkley. And you've given so much sage wisdom and experience. Any final words to gift the
Well,
people?
Dannion.com, the evolution of me caring about traumatic brain injury veterans. That's kind of like the suicide rate among traumatic brain injury veterans is serious. Danny, and I target who I'm trying to save. But with where the world is and the instability within the system, there more of them are going to kill themselves. More of them are going to take their lives. So I'm trying to take Dannion uh, and build it slowly but surely. I just have to pay for it as I go. I don't want anything attached to it that can control it or manipulate it.
You mean your website, your Dannion Brinkley website?
Yeah, Dannion.com.
Yeah.
Just anybody just go to Dannion.com and see what I'm doing. And remember that I love them. And I love you and I appreciate you. And I hope the next video I see, you're on aliens.gov.
Sorting out the
You know,
governments, telling them what's what with the ETs. Absolutely. That's my
the
job.
United States has started the alien.gov site. Okay. And the guy yesterday, this representative from Tennessee, said if America knew what he had seen and been shown, uh, had been shown by a government agency about hybrids here,
Mm,
you would not sleep at night. And this is a standing congressman. And
mm,
then they had another congressman here, Gates, said that he was shown a story, a program about taking taking aliens and crossbreeding them with humans to create a hybrid race for communication. And they're just a breaking news, honey. I
mm-hmm.
mean, that's happening right now, Danny. Right now, all these three congressmen, two out of Congress, but one still in Congress, saying the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least it's getting out. I mean, they're kind of late to the party because so many people know, but it has to
Yeah.
go through a process to be released, which is so frustrating, and you've only got to look at Dolly the sheep, for example, and and elements like that. Louise Brown, the
Well,
first test tube baby, we've been doing this for so many decades, and yeah, crossbreeding with all different kinds of species and animals. Yeah, it's really quite the thing. Yeah, lots coming out right now, coming out faster than anybody is really ready for. We think we're ready. Things are a bit shocking, but we just got to keep on breathing. Keep
we're
on
supposed to
breathing.
breathe in deeply and powerfully. And look, we chose to be here and we were chosen to be here.
Hmm.
So I love everybody. Thanks for having me. And I hope to see you soon.
Definitely. Love you lots. Thank you so much. See you soon, Danyon. And to the audience, sending love from my heart to yours. I know Danyon's such a treasure to have with his wisdom. So just take a breath, relax, and re listen to the information here. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Danyon.